Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Erica, and this is going to be the first video where I tackle the Tudor costume. So I am going for fancy Tudor court gown, just historically inspired, because I'm using a shower curtain and upholstery fabric. At least I have linen for the undergarments. And speaking of the undergarments, the first thing I need is the shift. And out of the Tudor Tailor book, G seems to be the one that I need to go for there because it has the open wide neck, which is the look I'm going for because I don't want it to be visible out from under the other garments. So I hope this is enough of this super weight light linen. I made my Victorian chemise out of it, so I don't remember when I purchased this, but this was not a thrift store find. This was a specific online purchase because I have found linen at the thrift store, but not ever one as lightweight as this. So this was specifically purchased for historical undergarments, and I think I have enough left to do the smock, I guess is what it's called, instead of a shift. But I've got to get out the pattern, as in I've got to scale the pattern up and start working on that. So we're gonna dive right in. Okay, I have enough of the linen. I did make a mistake and cut it a little bit shorter than I initially wanted to, but it's a smock, shift, whatever, it goes under. It's not gonna matter if it's, I think it's about 2 inches shorter than I had initially planned. So I've got the gores that go on the side. There's 4 of those. The gussets under the arms. I've got the sleeves and the body of it here. I did not cut out a neck hole yet. I don't have too much left over, but what I am gonna do is I've got 4 of strips about this wide, this long and this wide. And that is usable about 4 inches, maybe a little bit more than 4 inches because there's selvage there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to smock. I've got this smocking book here. I'm going to smock the cuffs. So what goes here, there's not, I would the collar too if I was going to be doing the collar, but I'm not going to be doing that. But I do want the cuffs smocked. So it will be good that they're long like this because we're going to smock it this way. I'm not 100% sure how much I'll need at this point, but I think I'm going to pause the construction of the smock itself, just let the pile sit there, and then work on gridding out the fabric for the smocking, and I'll see how much I'm going to use. So for smocking, you need a piece much wider in width than you are actually going to need because it gathers up into a whole bunch of pleats. And what you see me doing here, I ended up having to scrap, but this ended up being good practice. I will address this later in the video. I would recommend not gridding it out with a pencil like I did. I learned, don't worry. But I was doing these pleats 1/4 inch in depth apart and 1/4 inch in width apart. And then I think I did, it was 8 rows, I believe. And then you just go in and out and in and out with your thread. And then I had knotted it on one end and then just let it hang on the other end. And then I ended up gathering it that way. So this method does work, other than, again, don't use pencil. Use a marking tool that is removable from the fabric. That would be my recommendation. But like I said, this ended up being really good practice, and I am not upset about it, even though it didn't end up on the final garment. But here I'm knotting off the thread, and then you take your embroidery thread, which is going to be the decorative, and you go to the top of the fabric. This is the bottom, and I am doing the feather stitch here, and it says advanced in the book, but I am going to tell you it really wasn't that hard. So yeah, I'll address all of this shortly in the video, but I'm just still wanting to show the process of what I did for smocking, because I didn't really video the process of my attempt number 2. And so this is valuable. Plus, I really wanted to show the process of making this garment and its failures as well as its successes. So that's just what I'm doing here. All right, I showed putting the gores on the side, and now I've got to put the front and the back together at the shoulder seam, which is here. One thing I wanted to note is that, so for one side of this, I had to piece the gore pieces together because I didn't have a piece long enough. So there is an extra seam here, and I thought I had laid it out perfectly so that the French seam was inside, and as you can see, here's the inside and there's the French seam. But if anybody thinks I'm going to take that out for an undergarment, it's just going to stay that way. And part of the reason I don't care, other than the fact that this is basically underwear, is that, you know, I'm going to be doing another French seam for the side seam, which means that the amount of actual visibleness of this that's going to be is so minute on either side that I am not worried about it. So I'm going to go ahead and also French seam the shoulder seam together, which means I need to do this, put wrong sides together, and then begins the sleeve process. And so I have the gussets for the underarms, the sleeves, and then the 2 cuffs that I smocked, which I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get them on yet, but I'll figure that out when I get to that point. Right now I'm just getting the basic smock itself together, and then I will worry about the sleeves. Okay, so just kidding about all the previous smocking. It didn't work. I'm proud of my stitching, and I am not looking at this as wasted time, because I definitely got some practice in, and that turned out really pretty. I'm very pleased with that. However, it's not working the way that I wanted it with this. I probably could save this one if this one wasn't did. And I decided throughout this process that I just want to do a different color scheme and different stitch combination anyway. I want probably to do the cable stitch along the top and the bottom, and then just do 1 row of the feather stitch. And I think I'm going to like that better. Also, I think I want to go with a little bit more muted tone on the thread. So anyway, this was a fantastic practice and I'm very, very pleased with it. Also, another thing that I did not realize, because this is my first attempt at ever smocking, is that I shouldn't have used pencil. And I mean, someone that's probably done it before probably would have been like, duh, but I did not realize that the stitches came out, so I wasn't worried about the dots showing through. But in combination with the very lightweight white linen and the fact that the thread did actually come out, yeah, you can see them, and I doubt it would be washable. So again, yes, that took a couple of days, but it was fantastic practice. I'm not mad about it. You learn. So I have my 2 sleeves here. Oh, and another thing I figured out is I don't want to smock a piece and then attach it to the sleeve. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to smock the sleeve directly. Oh my gosh, we have a little friend in here. Well, didn't expect a spider. Okay, the spider's gone. Alrighty then. So what I'm going to do is smock the sleeve directly on the sleeve. So I went ahead and hemmed up the cuff here. That way I don't have to do that later. As you can see, there is a seam there. I didn't want there to be, but this is the last of the linen, and I didn't have a piece long enough otherwise for the sleeves. So I just, the smocking is going to be in between the hem and this seam anyway, so it should be fine. I'm not too worried about it. I did a little test on a little square of linen last night to test all of my different marking utensils that are removable from the fabric to see which one I liked the best and which one came off the best. And what I got to was my water soluble disappearing ink. Actually, not that one. Yeah. One of the two. I'll probably retest. I have 2 different pink ones. One's Singer branded and one is not Singer branded. But I think it was this one, the lighter one. Anyway, even the blue came off alright, but, and I have a purple one, it came off okay too, but the pink was the easiest. So we're going to go with that. That way, I know the marks will come off. One other thing that I have figured out is I was using white thread because, again, I did not realize that the thread came out. I thought it stayed in, and that way, so I was using white so that it would match. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go hunt up another sturdy thread that is a vastly different color than the white linen. That way I can see them better when I'm doing the stitching. So that's the plan. And it might be a little crazy because today is laundry day and I have a lot of laundry to do. And no, I don't do all of my kids' laundry. My older 2 completely do their own laundry at this point. I'm helping my 9-year-old learn. He's getting close, and the twins are getting closer, but I still have a lot of laundry to do. So that will be going in and out of that. One other thing that I just thought of is that I did 1/4 inch pleats, like the dots 1/4 inch apart. I'm still going to do the width between the stitch lines at 1/4 inch. However, I think I'm going to go with 1/8 inch in between the dots going this way, because this was just a little bit thicker than I was going for. So yes, I know that's going to take me a million times longer, but you know, I'm not in this for the speed at this point. And anyway, and I haven't decided what colors I'm going to use that's not red yet. Probably more like browns, peach, something like that to go, or like a muted blue or something to match the color scheme a little bit better of what I'm making for the costume. But we will see. I'll go dig through my embroidery threads. Again, I'm not mad about the time that was spent on this. This was a really good learning curve, and I got some good practice, and I'm really proud of that stitching. This one is the second one I did. The first one turned out okay. This one even turned out better. So, good practice.
Smocking round 2 turned out way more what I had envisioned in my head at the start. I am so glad I took the time to do 1/8 inch pleats instead of the 1/4 inch pleats. It turned out absolutely beautiful and absolutely what I wanted. So once this was done and I had removed all of my gathering stitches, then just began the process of putting the sleeve onto the rest of the smock. And that started with putting the underarm gusset on and then sewing it on and going down the sleeve and side seam all at once. And it turned out great. So you'll see that in a second.
So I'm gonna have to go pull out the footage in a little bit and see what I actually recorded versus what I thought I recorded. I am nursing a headache today, and apparently I forgot to hit record a couple of times. So there was ones I'm not sure about because either the battery died at some point, and I don't know whether I was recording when the battery died or not. Because then there was another time I figured out I wasn't recording. Yay, it's great. All right, so both sleeves are in and done, and I'm really, really, really happy with the smocked cuffs. They're so pretty. I love it so much. One thing I'm going to say here, and I'm not going to make a big deal about it because I don't care. This is for me, and I'm happy with it. I did initially start felling the seams here because it's linen, and given the fact that this is the smock that's going to go under everything, I serged the rest of the seams, and I am perfectly happy with that decision. So, as this is for me, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so, because I'm going for a little bit of more quick on this, and then that way I can put more time into the outer garments that will be more visible. So that is an executive decision I made for myself. All right, so what I have left to do on this is to hem the bottom and then the neck hole, which obviously this is the shoulder seam, so obviously there's no holes for the neck, so I can't put it on right now. And it is very wide, but you know, pretty sure they're supposed to be. And then this will have a drawstring in the neck for gathering purposes. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hem it because that is the other raw edge that's going on right now. That's fraying because this is linen, and then I will work on cutting out the neck edge and doing that. So, I have taken medicine. I'm trying to distract myself from said headache, and I'm just going to keep plugging on. I may not video much else of that process. I probably am not going to video the hemming process, and I'll probably jump back in once I get to the neck edge.
So I used my French curve to pattern out this particular line for cutting out, and I just went ahead and did the front and the back neck edge at the same time, and then pulled the French curve back out and went down a little bit further for the front neck edge. And it was pretty simple, pretty quick. Cut that additional amount out of the front, and then did a turn and turn edge on the seam, after pressing down the first edge, which I'll show in a second, and then when I stitched it down after the press, that was leaving the casing for the drawstring. And I also made 2 eyelets that I did by hand in the center front for the drawstring to come out of that casing.
All right, it's done. However, there's so much fabric here, and I'm aware that a shift is supposed to be, you know, flowy, but this is big. And I went back and was reading the book a little bit more, and it said for the smock to actually leave these side gores out, and I believe it's a little confusing as to whether this counts as the shirt or the smock. However, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this out of both sides. It's just so much, and I don't need that much fabric, so I'm just going to literally come, so I'm not even going to undo the hem. It's fine. Just put a seam just behind the 2 seam lines there, and serge it up and call it good. And yep, again, using the serger, and there will still be plenty of fabric. So I'm gonna go do that, but other than that, it is done. It's technically done. I'm really happy with it. Otherwise, I will be happier with it once these triangles are out. So that's just an executive decision I'm making for me, because this is a little bit ridiculous. It's still, again, going to be extremely flowy even without these gores. I think that the previous shift I made did have the gores. I don't think that the fabric was cut as wide, so it wasn't nearly as voluminous, shall we say. So yeah, I'm gonna go do that really quick. Wanted to also jump in here and say I finished it. Yay, it's so cute. It took me over a month of work whenever I had time. Turned it into a pillow. It's already been well loved by the kids. It looks adorable on our couch. It's done. It's cute. I'm happy. Also, a quick update on knitting. So I did go ahead and cut this off instead of frogging it. Doesn't mean I can't frog it eventually. I would just have to cut the knot out. But this was me practicing. I figured out the cable stitch there, and then a couple of different knitting stitches that I was just working on. So I want to start working on a project, but it might be a while before I do that. But I'm very happy with this. I probably will do a little bit more practice before I jump into a project, but hey, for, you know, never knitting before this year, I'm pretty happy with that. So anyway, and this is just, you know, cheap Red Heart white yarn, but yeah, progress. I told you I wanted to learn how to knit this year, and I am very pleased with this. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna go do the sides and show you it when it is done. All right, it's a little see-through, so you're gonna get it on the dress form, but that looks so much better as far as not too much bulk. Let me show my cuffs here. Obviously, there's no wrists on my dress form, so come on, you can focus on it now. Hello. Okay, had to turn it off and back on because it was struggling to focus. But obviously there's no hands on my dress form, so those are pulled up further than they will be on me. They do sit nicely on my wrists, and they're so pretty. I know it's just a small little detail, and otherwise very similar shift design to the one that I made for my 17th century, but it's a little different. And these cuffs will probably be visible with the dress, so I wanted them to be very pretty. Anyway, and I thought it was going to turn out a little too short, but it didn't. It was great. So there it is. Well, thanks for joining me for the construction of the smock. I'm just going to call it a smock, but I may still call it a shift. I don't know. It's going to go back and forth. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this. This was fun. Did take me a little bit longer than I had anticipated with the smocking, but I have no regrets. I love it. Again, I'm trying really hard not to rush on this project and actually enjoy the process. And that being said, yes, I still serged the seams of this one. I do not plan on serging the seams of the rest of them from here on out. That is just what I chose to do for the smock that's literally going to be under everything. So again, I have no regrets on that. I know that there might be some people that literally lose their minds over that decision, given the fact that I'm working on a Tudor outfit, but this is for me. I will never sell that part of it. So even if I finish the actual costume itself, even though this is part of the costume, you know, I think my end goal in some of these costumes is to sell them when I'm done with them. But this one I would only sell what's going forward. The kirtle and the dress itself, that is going to be my smock for any future costumes of this era. Same thing with my other shift. That's along the lines of what I would consider, like, you know, underwear these days. And even when I'm buying stuff at the thrift store for my kids or whatever, I don't buy used underwear. And I know that that's maybe a privilege, but that kind of grosses me out. So that's mine. That's not going to anybody else. So I can have a few serged seams on that one for me. The rest of them, I'm going to spend a lot more time on doing the seams the way that I feel like would be, even if it's not 100% historically accurate, it's definitely not going to be a serger. Anyway, that's my long-winded way of, don't come at me for using the serger for my smock. This is my business, and this is my garment. So the next project is the kirtle, and I'm really excited to start using this blue linen. I'm looking at it back behind the camera, but I can't reach it. It's on the other side of my cutting table, so I'm not going to yank it over here at the moment. But I hope you stick around on the channel and join me for that. have no clue when that video will get out. Again, there's not going to be really a schedule from here on out on my channel, but this was fun. I'm glad I finally got back into it, and I would love for you to like and subscribe if you want to see the rest of this project or go back and watch some of my previous costumes. And I appreciate you being here. I'll see you in the next one.